Hey, Dutch Uncle George here, and on this video I want to talk to you about something very, very important. It's the worst thing you can possibly do, and I'm talking about settling. Yes, I'm sure you've heard this before. You should never settle. Absolutely, under no conditions should you settle for anything less than what you deserve. You have to stick to your guns and never, ever settle. Never settle! Okay, first of all, if you're living life right now, I can pretty much guarantee you that you are settling on something. Now, it might be, car you're driving, it might be you're in a job you don't like and you're settling for it because it pays the bills, or maybe you're settling for a particular relationship or something like that. And I'm going to focus in on the relationship aspect of settling, because this one I hear all the time. I see it all over the internet about, oh, you should never settle. Oh, you should always make sure that you're getting exactly what you want, and there's this idea, especially among younger guys in the incel community, that are men of quality and they never settle for less. No, the woman or women that they choose are the cream of the crop, the absolute pinnacle of humanity. They're the most beautiful. They're the perfect women. Okay. There are no perfect humans out there. So if you find somebody that you like, my advice to you is stick with that person. Now, yeah, sure, there might be somebody out there who's more beautiful, hotter in some way. Maybe they got bigger boobs, maybe they got better hair, maybe they got a prettier face, whatever. And I don't mean to make this just about guys being superficial, because women and really any gender can be just as superficial. Women have their 666 thing going on, which I'll be discussing in another video. Guys will be like, oh, I would never date, or even, I would never even have sex with a woman who weighed more than 125 pounds, which is really laughable coming from a lot of these guys who are, living in their parents' basement and they haven't touched a woman like ever. So they're going to hold out for somebody who's under 125 pounds and is a perfect 10. Going to be awfully lonely. But anyway, getting back to this thing on relationships, like I said, nobody's perfect. And even if you find somebody you think is perfection, a lot of times that's self-delusion. A lot of times that's the effect of all these hormones that get released during an initial relationship, an initial sexual encounter with somebody. You think, oh, this flood of emotions that colors your judgment, and it makes you think that person is perfect. It makes you think they're flawless in terms of how they look. They're flawless in how they behave. And it's really just not true. And even if it is true, in fact, if it is true, if they really truly appear perfect to you, even if you look past the hormone thing, if they really seem perfect, be careful. The people who really seem perfect, they're usually con artists, and they know how to manipulate you. They know how to get inside your head, figure out what it is that you want, and at least for a time, give it to you until they figure out a way to, when you're vulnerable, and then take advantage of you and either rob you blind or break your heart or whatever. So this idea of settling is just simply ridiculous. You settle all the time. Settling is just another word for compromise. You compromise on where you live. You compromise on what kind of car you drive. You compromise on what you eat. So why the hell shouldn't you compromise a little bit, just a little bit, on your relationships, even if it's just somebody that you want to have sex with? Now, I know you've been told over and over and over, men of quality don't compromise. Men of quality, they never, ever give up for anything that they want. They get it all. It's BS, guys. Doesn't work that way. So let's talk about this as far as settling. How do you know when you're settling and it's a bad thing? Because it can be a bad thing. You can be in a relationship, especially with somebody who treats you like crap. And if you're sticking around with them because you don't think you deserve any better, you can't do any better, then yes, you are settling. Now, how do you tell the difference between that kind of settling and the settling that is, just completely ridiculous and, outside of reality? Well, there's a very simple way of telling. If you are with somebody and the vast majority of the time you're happy with them, even if there's somebody who might look better or they might have something that you want, some kind of personality characteristic, maybe they happen to have a kink that you like, that's not settling. If you're happy with them, most of the time, and it's not going to be 100% of the time, never going to be perfect, but if you're happy with them most of the time, you're not settling by being with that person. Simple as that. And the converse of that is, if you're unhappy with them the vast majority of the time, no matter how hot they are, no matter how much the envy of your friends you are, then you are settling if you're not getting what you really truly need and want out of that relationship. So that's my take on settling. So should you settle? Yeah, you should settle once in a while. In fact, you should settle most of the time. But let it be that settling where it's just like things aren't 100% quite perfect, but you're having a good time most of the time. So that's my advice on that one. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on another video. Bye-bye.